Good afternoon and welcome to the Voice of the CDFA. I'm your host, Carol Lee Roberts, and as president of the Institute for Divorce Financial Analysts, it's my pleasure to introduce you to my guest this month, Claudia Kane. Claudia is the current president of the Financial Planning Association, and she holds the Certified Financial Planner designation, as well as the Certified Investment Management Analyst, Certified Private Wealth Advisor, Accredited Domestic Partner Advisor, and Certified Divorce Financial Analyst. She served in volunteer leadership positions with the FPA and the Investment and Wealth Institute. She's also been involved in exam writing for both the CFP Board and the Investment and Wealth Institute. In addition to these professional accomplishments, she's active in her community and also says she is an avid golfer, archer, and sculler. Claudia, thank you for joining us.
Great. Thank you, Carolee. I really appreciate the time.
I'd like to start off by asking why you decided to make divorce part of your financial advising practice.
In a way, it's a sad story, but it's one door closes, another one opens. I went through, I call it my 15-year divorce. I started in the financial industry back in the 80s as a stockbroker for Merrill Lynch. And that then evolved into doing investments on a fee basis through E.F. Hutton, which then led me to my financial planning passion, which is how I got involved with the Financial Planning Association. And divorce work is, in some ways, the ultimate in financial planning. And you're dealing with people that have had trauma in their emotional and their financial lives, and it's a way to help them get through that as easy as possible. So I call it my 15-year divorce. I had 3-year-old twins, and my ex-husband took me back to court every single year, at least once or twice a year. I used to get an annual Christmas card taking me to court every year for something. And so I spent a lot of time in court, and I learned a lot. Some of the lessons weren't so great, but it led me to really wanting to help women, especially. I have had some male clients, but they generally tend to be the women. And as we know in the investment world, women, sadly, are still often underrepresented in the financial world. So it's really helpful. For me, I like to give back, and I like to be able to make a difference. I guess that's the long version. That's how I got here. And a client that had been a client of mine for 20 plus years had a friend who was actually going through a divorce from a financial advisor. And she asked me to help her. And I thought, this is kind of cool. I wonder if there's a designation for this. And sure enough, there was one, and it had been around a long time, and I wasn't even aware of it.
Well, I'm glad you found it.
Me too.
I had mentioned in the intro that you're the current president of the Financial Planning Association. Could you share with us a little about what the Financial Planning Association does, what your goals are for this year?
So the Financial Planning Association is the largest association, and our core member is the Certified Financial Planner Professional. There are 18,000 members, give or take. We've got 80 chapters around the country. It's an amazing group of people. Probably 70% of our memberships are certified financial planner professionals. I am seeing a lot more CDFAs when I'm looking at the initials of people coming in, because I think that's a logical next step for people. And I do get a lot of people asking me, is that a good thing for a financial planner to get into? And I think it's a very natural next step, especially if you have any empathy or whatever. But, we're committed to financial planning as an actual profession. In fact, we're working on title protection for the financial planner term, so that not everybody can call themselves a financial planner, that you have to have some level of credentials, some level of education. We haven't quantified it all yet. We're on kind of a listening tour to try to gather information from all of our different stakeholders as to what that should look like. But that's kind of our long-term goal, is to define financial planner as a distinct profession, as opposed to an investment advisor or a insurance agent or something like that. Not that they can't also be financial planners, but to make it more easy for the consumer to know who they're working with. Are they getting a true financial plan, or are they just getting, here's a product?
Well, it's funny because if you look at the FINRA website, I think at last count, there's over 340 different financial designations. And I have to be honest, when I was getting ready for our interview, I had to look, I was not familiar with the domestic partner designation you had. I had to look that up. But if you think you and I are looking at those designations and have to look at them and we're not certain what they all entail, can you imagine what the average consumer is when they see a financial advisor, financial consultant, and then 340 variations of initials behind the name?
Right. Yeah, when I got the domestic partnership designation, that was back in the late 90s. It was much more relevant back then. Wells Fargo had a program, I was with them at the time, that the first 100 people that signed up, Wells Fargo would pay for it. And so I'm like, I love education and I love learning more. And so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. It isn't as separate now. The CDFA designation gives me the information that I can use in whether it's a same-sex divorce or whether it's a more traditional, I guess I should say, divorce.
Well, it's funny because when I first started with IDFA, most people kept talking about divorce as a woman's issue. And I was a little quizzical about that because after all, most divorces involve both a man and a woman. But if you start looking at it from the financial planning aspect, the fact that the most recent Merrill study, women earn over 1.05 million dollars less in their lifetime. Women get a third of the Social Security benefits of the average man. They have a third less retirement savings. So, especially in a time when we're having more and more gray divorces, the impact on women is far greater than it is on men. And I think, that whether by design or just the realities of the situation, divorce is really continuing to be a women's issue, even though we see, more dual income families. Are you
Absolutely. Yeah, especially when you mentioned the gray divorce. I do a lot of work with people coming where, and again, it's traditionally the man, though I've had some women, that one of the two parties has a pension and the other one doesn't. And that can be really complicated because the one that's got the pension is the one that doesn't want to give up the pension, but yet the other spouse is like, well, the reason you got that pension is because I took care of the kids, I took care of the house, I moved whenever you needed to move, I did this, that, and the other. So it is challenging because, I mean, my divorce I went through, I was older and I was married to a gentleman with a pension. And we had the plan. He had the pension. I had the 401k. Life was going to be good. And then he decided to run off with a younger woman. So that wasn't so good. But, lessons learned.
He apparently could not stick to the plan.
He could not stick to the plan. But that's okay. I recovered and I am now married to a wonderful man and we have our own plan. So that's all good.
Good. It is funny because I do encounter people who do the whole, divorce, why would you want to work with divorcing people? And I think I've come to terms with the fact that, first of all, working with divorcing people is people. Everybody knows somebody who has been divorced. Everybody has somebody divorced in their family. It's a very common experience. And with the right people involved on your team, it doesn't have to be an awful experience. You can educate both parties so they both feel that they know what the next steps are or what resources they'll have or what they can do in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember I had one client, and this was early on after I got my CDFA, and the gal came in and they had a pretty easy, workable situation. Again, it was one of those, he had the pension, she had the 401k, but I worked with her on what was important to her. And then we invited the husband to come in and so we could show him what we were looking at and make sure that it fit with him. And he walked in, and I remember he walked in and he was staring at his phone and just kind of ignoring me like, yeah, sure, fine, whatever. He goes, I know you guys are just here to stick it to me. And I said, no, actually, we're not. I mean, I'm in California. It's a community property state. Pretty much, I tell everybody, you're pretty much just going to get half. So I can try to help you get the half you want and help you work it out that way. But I can't get you, you can't stick it to the other person and take everything. By the time he left, he gave me a hug. That's why I do divorce work, because I can make a difference. You know, lawyers are generally, they like to get those billable hours up and they love to go to court and fight. And if I can do something to save somebody that, my 15-year divorce, I stopped counting when my legal fees went over 100,000. If I was to guess, they were probably 150,000 because I was paying basically $10,000 a year to go to court and just go around and around in circles. I mean, that's ridiculous. And the CDFA can make things so much easier for people. If you have empathy and kindness, you can make people feel better about how their life will be going forward and how there is life after divorce. And it's not a stigma. Thank goodness it's not a stigma anymore. I think it helps people when I talk about my own divorce. It's like, okay, she gets it, you know, she knows and she survived and she went forward. But you know, I really enjoy the divorce work because I am making a difference. And I remember that guy and he gave me the hug and I knew that they both walked out of there. They ended up going to a paralegal, signing documents and lived happily ever after. So it's a wonderful way of helping people. And I think see, you know, you talk about what do I want seeing for the Financial Planning Association. I would love to see more certified financial planners become certified divorce financial analysts as an adjunct to their business.
Well, we are making a lot of headway in that area. I think about 60% of our CDFA professionals also hold the CFP designation, and more of our new CDFA professionals have the CFP designation. So we're making progress in that arena, and I think it's a wonderful thing. I mean, I think
Yeah.
we can do to make sure we have people that are qualified and educated and can help diffuse some of the landmines in divorce. So, you know, although I wouldn't say that, you know, I'm pro or any CDFA is pro divorce, but I am pro education and I am pro having people know the consequences of their action and also be able to tap into creative solutions so we can make the best of what is a difficult situation.
Well, to me, it's logical that people should have both designations, because if you do help people with the divorce side, wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to then help them going forward with, okay, now what do I do? I'm working with a gal right now. She's like, I want to make sure I can keep my house. And she's only like in her late 40s. You know, what's my life going to look like? So I can transition once we're through the divorce. I can then help her do an actual financial plan for the rest of her life, get the kids through college, plan retirement for herself, help her with any tax issues that come up and things like that. So it's kind of a logical next step for the CDFAs to get their CFP designation and become a member of the Financial Planning Association. It's all good.
Yeah. So you've mentioned, you know, the different ways you can help both with the CFP designation and the CDFA designation. And there's a lot of opportunity to do work in these areas with our clients. I also know, and I'm going to ask you to just do an all-out plug. I know FPA does pro bono planning, has some pro bono training. Could you talk a little bit about that for anybody in our audience who might be interested in finding ways to give back to their communities?
Sure, absolutely. One of our big initiatives this year is financial literacy. It's finally, we're at least trying to get it on the ballot in California. California has been really resistant, but I think there are 23 states now that offer personal finance education in our high schools. In the interim, while we're trying to get it actually in the schools, I know a lot of our members locally and nationally do education. I mean, if the parents aren't educated, it's hard to educate the kids in financial literacy and personal finance. And, you know, you go to college and all of a sudden you get 30 different credit cards in the mail and yay, you know, look at me, I'm an adult. I can go charge a new Xbox or whatever. But that's a big thing for pro bono. I haven't really seen anything as far as on the divorce side, but I think that would be something really good to talk to people about, especially like you say, go to senior centers. If you've got somebody, and I think I had one couple, they were in their 80s getting a divorce, which kind of like, really? Okay. Just wait a little bit. One of you is going to go. It's just a terrible thing to say. But the trauma of emotionally and financially, I think it would be helpful to let people know, it's the start of the next chapter. It's not the end of your life. It's the start of another chapter. So pro bono, we have a whole department that does nothing but pro bono work and organizes pro bono work and has educational resources for the CFP designees to go out into the community and teach financial literacy, financial planning, talk about estate planning. We had a big event in Sacramento many years ago. We had over 900 people show up for Financial Planning Day. And then, COVID hit, and that kind of put that sort of thing on the back burner. But in California, we've helped people with the fires, that come out of that, and all of a sudden they've lost everything. So it's a really important thing. And I know the CFP board has recently come out and endorsed and said, we would really like our CFP designees to do pro bono work and to log their hours and say what they're doing. So,
yeah, we're not doing pro bono work for CDFA professionals yet, but it's something we're looking into. And for anybody listening to this that does have their CDFA designation, in a previous broadcast, I had interviewed Stacy Francis, and she has an organization, Savvy Ladies.
Savvy Ladies, yeah, she's amazing. I talked with her on a panel in New York.
Yeah, that does pro bono planning for women in domestic abuse situations and also women in divorce. So if you are a CDFA and you would like to volunteer some of your time, find Stacy Francis and Savvy Ladies.
Yeah, it's a great organization. She's doing really good work.
She really is. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
It's the work that we do is really important. We are making a difference in helping people get through the toughest times of their lives. And I think everybody out there who holds the CDFA designation should be very proud of what they do. And I think we just need more of them because it is a growing issue, especially as you talked about the gray divorce. More and more people are going through that. So I just, I'm really glad I'm here. I really appreciate the time. I appreciate what you've done, the Institute, the resources that you provide, the training that you provide, I think is wonderful. So I thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today.
All right, Carol, thank you very much.